It's very exciting to be here for so many reasons. The simple fact that I got the call yesterday. And prior to getting that call, the week leading up to it, I was sick. I was battling the flu and sinus and bronchitis, and I'm sorry, I was feeling sorry for myself. I was miserable, I was complaining, and I just didn't feel good. And I was saying to Jim, we haven't been away, just the two of us, and we haven't been to Sag Harbor, and I want to go back to the spiritual center, and I know I should call Nick, and I'll call him after I'm feeling better. And then Saturday rolled around, and we'd already rented the car because we had some other things to do. And we woke up, and Jim's like, oh, it's early, I don't want it. Let's just not rent the car. I'm like, no, let's do it. And then the phone call happened. And, I said yes. Now, I have to say that prior to saying yes, there were a million reasons in my head of why I was going to say no. Because I don't know about you all, I like to be in control of things. I didn't have a talk. What was I going to say? I would have been sick. What if I get a relapse? Well, my gosh, I'm on the board of trustees at Unity of New York, and that's tomorrow. And my husband is the volunteer coordinator. And what if, and oh my gosh, and then all of a sudden I said, okay, didn't you set your intention at the start of 2011 on what you were going to create? Say yes, and everything else will unfold. And guess what it did? Everything is being taken care of, and we're all here together. So, and I have to say on the ride up, I was really excited because I get to share this story. I love sharing stories, my friends' stories. And so if you share your stories with me, I can promise you I will probably share those with other people. His 6-year-old little daughter, little girl, a couple days ago, climbed into his lap and wrapped her arms around his neck. And she asked him this really great question. Daddy, did you always want to be a janitor when you grew up? And he said, honey, Daddy's not a janitor. I'm the superintendent of this whole building that we live in. Okay, what's the difference? There's a difference. Trust me, honey, there's a difference. Well, okay, well, did you want to be that? From the time when you were little like me? No, sweetie. I'm actually an actor. Daddy's an actor. No, you're not. You're what you just said. But I have a great idea. I know how we can fix this. And my friend's like, how? You get to call a do-over. A do-over. Remember when we were kids and we would say, do-over? When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you said, I call a do-over? When we're children, we don't think anything of doing that. And honestly, when we are calling that do-over as a child, it is because what we are involved in, we love, we are passionate about it, it is fun. And it's not that the attempts prior that we saw them as failures, not at all. We wanted to recreate that feeling, and we wanted it to be better the next time. And we were going to try and we were going to do it better. Because when we're children, we are not focused on being less than at all. We don't even understand what that means, and we most certainly do not settle. We learn that much later. Now, this holiday season, how many people saw that BMW commercial? There was this BMW commercial that was on nonstop, and it's actually still running. I love that commercial. It is set up in 3 scenes. The first scene, it's a mom and her son, and they're at a toy store. And the little boy is facing the display window, and there is this awesome train. And he is looking at that train, and it's going around the tracks. And the steam is rising from the engine, and the train whistle, it's blowing. This is the right and perfect train. He knows it. But his mom's behind him. And if you saw the commercial, she's holding a box train set. And she said, well, this is just as good. And that little boy didn't even look back. No, it's not. The next scene, this little boy is now a teenager. And he and his dad are at a music store. And that teenager is holding this electric guitar and admiring this guitar. And the way he was looking at it, I imagined he was visualizing what he could create with that beautiful instrument. And here's Dad, holding a different guitar. What do you think the dad said? This is just as good. And that teenage boy, he didn't even look back at his dad, and he said, no, it's not. And now that little boy is a grown man, and they're at the car dealership, and here's this beautiful BMW, silver. ear-to-ear grin. His eyes are lit up, and here comes the salesperson, and he says, so, is this the one? And without pause, the grown man says, yes, this is the one. And he's in the car, and the commercial ends, and he's driving off in the sunset. Is that awesome? I love that commercial so much that if you're like me, you record your shows so that you can fast forward through the commercials. I was fast forwarding the commercials, through the show, so I could actually watch that commercial. And the show didn't have it, next one. And then I tried to Google it, find it on YouTube, because I wanted to post it and share it. I didn't find it. But what I did find surprised me. I found this online discussion, debate, and argument happening about that commercial. And I was like, wow, the internet's powerful. Now, half of the people saw that little boy as spoiled, unappreciative, and selfish, and that he grew up to be a self-centered man. One person actually posted, if I had told my parents that the gift that they bought me wasn't good enough, I'd have been spanked and grounded. Then there was the other half, like me. I could have cared less if it was about the BMW at all. In fact, that wasn't even what I saw. There was the other half that looked at that commercial, and they saw a whole lot of spirit, and they connected to it. And what they saw was a little boy who became a teenager, who became a man, and at no point did he stop dreaming. Did he stop imagining? Did he stop visualizing? Did he stop creating? At no time did he feel less than. Did he settle? What I envisioned, because I have a big imagination, I imagined that that little boy had a jar, and in that jar he was saving his allowances, and he was online looking at that train set and imagining what he was going to create with his friends. And then that teenager in his room, that teenager had posters all over his bedroom window with the musicians that he admired and the artists, and I guarantee you he plays air guitar. And then that grown adult, that BMW was not the first car he ever purchased. He had cars before that. But what they held on to and what I took from that commercial was, we deserve the good that shows up in our life. And it does not always happen as quickly as we would like. There's a thing called divine order. There's a thing called divine timing. But we never stop believing. What I find fascinating about that debate that is online, and if you Google this commercial, I'm sure you will find it, is the power of choice. One commercial, and we had the power on how we were going to see it, what we were going to learn from it, what we were going to take away from it. And of course, that goes into every part of our day. How do we choose to receive what is going on in our world? We haven't left the holiday season. It's January 16th, and the holiday season, as well as the beginning of the new year, is about celebration of birth. We are still celebrating birth. I think that's awesome, because we're rejuvenated, right? This is wonderful. And this time, the month of January, I think we're always open to that creative expression of limitless potential. God has blessed each and every one of us with unique gifts, skills, talents, and He wants us to honor and celebrate who and what we are. What I find fascinating is that a lot of times as grown-ups, we think that we have to stop dreaming. And I'm here to tell you that there's no age limit on dreaming. God wants us to dream, and not just big, huge. And as far as I'm concerned, we should be dreaming the way we did when we were children, where we did not set limitations or boundaries on what we can do. And the thing about it, for me, when I'm dreaming, and then all of a sudden that little ego part can come in and say, come on, can't you just be happy? And then I get still and silent, because I know that I'm not alone. I know my oneness with God. And if we know that oneness, that's one part of it. Then we have to breathe that oneness. And I'm such a fan of breathing. The minute I'm feeling overwhelmed, the minute I'm feeling like there are external influences that are coming my way that are stopping or blocking that flow of what I'm going to create, I'm stopping. So we have to breathe that oneness. And then, of course, we have to live that oneness. So if we own that, we will hear our still small voice. We will hear the wisdom and guidance from God. Now, the other groovy part of January, some will argue with me that it's not that groovy, New Year's resolutions. Who made them? Oh, I know some. You did awesome. Now, here's the thing about New Year's resolutions. The people that do them, they get excited. Again, it's January. We get to dig in. We are creative. We are rejuvenated. We have rested, hopefully. We get to imagine. We get to dream. Think about all the companies right now that fall under the health and lifestyle industry. Big boom in revenue right now. Now, of course, we also know many people have stopped making resolutions because, what do they say? They're not going to last. I'll be good for 2 weeks and boom. So there are all those jokes that don't really support the resolution. Now, personally, I can tell you that when mine have fallen by the wayside, there's one common theme. My resolutions do not support, have not supported who and what I am. My resolutions have not supported my divine dreams and goals. And I can guarantee with 100% certainty that my resolution plan, that there was no connection with Spirit when I was creating it, because I was giving God the day off. Because there's a lot of other people that He could be helping, and let me get this one. I know I can do a better job. In all of life's experiences, there's growth opportunities. We don't always see them the day it happens. If you're like me, you might say, I know it's going to come to me at some point, I just don't know when. We can look at these events that show up and see them as challenges. We can wrap our brains around the appearance of things. We can focus on the question, why me? What is wrong with me? And I know that when I felt that way, because again, that's the human experience part. We are spiritual beings living a human experience, and that's the human side, that ego. I have found that maybe during those times, it's that we don't think we deserve a dynamic and delicious life. Maybe we don't think it's okay to want past a certain age. And then, of course, I know that there are a lot of people out there that can't imagine asking for anything so amazing and so magnificent as the manifestation of a divine dream. And when I felt that way, I have stopped. And I embrace silence, and I embrace stillness, because I know what God's answer every single time is for me, and it's the same thing for you. You are magnificent. You are amazing. You are love. You are joy. You are good. And make no mistake, it is not error in your thinking. You are deserving. We need to get to that point because this is exciting. We are creating. And you know what? It's not just January. January is great. New beginnings. But every day is a new beginning. Every day we get to do over. How cool. Because we can relive it. We can re-experience it. And it can get even better. Or maybe that do-over, we enhance it a little and then it takes us in a completely different direction. And you end up on a Sunday in Sag Harbor and then Southampton. We have the power of choice, and it's a tremendous power to have. We can choose how we approach life's possibilities. And do we see possibilities or do we see impossibilities? This is not about the past or external influences that do not support the good we deserve. What we have right now, today and every day, is waking up and saying, yes, I'm willing. I am willing to be willing. Not just on January 1st, not just on January 16th, but every single day. I am willing to be willing. I am willing to say yes to God. I'm willing to say yes to me. I'm willing to say, yes, I choose me, and I choose to co-create this dynamic and delicious life, and I deserve it. One of the challenges that we have, if you're like me, don't y'all want tangible evidence at times? We want to sit there and say, hey, you know what? I know that this is meant to be for me. I know this is my life purpose. Please just show me something. Then I can believe that it's real. As you're sitting here right now, whether you're aware of it or not, stuff is happening. If you have stated your intention on what you want and what you know you deserve, and the dreams and the goals that you have for 2011 and onward, it's happening right now in the background. And all of a sudden, one day, you are going to see a signal. You're going to get an opportunity that you get to say yes to. But it can be scary, the not knowing. Because the other thing that you have to be willing to do is you have to be willing to step out on faith and trust the unknown. And if you're a control freak, right, like me, that's not always easy. But one of my favorite quotes comes from the movie, The Polar Express. Have we seen The Polar Express? That is not something that you should just watch during the holidays, by the way. Watch it often. We can do a talk on the metaphysics of that movie. It's phenomenal. My favorite quote comes from the conductor. Sometimes seeing is believing. And sometimes the most real things in the world are those things we can't see. How true is that? So now what I want you all to do, for those of you who've seen the movie or if you've read the book, I want you to imagine that a train is just pulled up right outside that window. First of all, how cool would that be if all of a sudden out of nowhere there's a train? I would lose you all immediately. I would actually be out there too. Now the conductor comes out and looks you right in the eye and says, the final destination of my train is the manifestation of the very thing that you've been wanting, you've been affirming, you've been praying for. It's going to be manifested. Do you get on? Do you rush on? Do you take a step back and go, that's great, however, let me look at my calendar? Do you say no? And then, of course, think about how many of you might not even see that train because you're not open and receptive to something like that showing up. Whenever I see that movie, I think, it really makes me think, wow, how many opportunities did I not say yes to? Or I hesitated. And of course, you never know how many you haven't, because I didn't trust God. I didn't get centered and remember who and what I am. And of course, as I've said before, I let God off the hook thinking, let me get this one. And he's like, oh, you're cute. So here's my question for you all, because I always do a question of the day, so I'm going to do a question. What are you ready to create and give birth to in 2011? What is it? Make it huge, make it fun, make sure you're laughing and having a wonderful, joyous time. And by the way, you don't need to have anybody else validate that it's a good one. It's between you and Spirit. And my other question, why not have more than one? What are you going to recreate and do over? Because you calling a do-over doesn't mean failure, because that word is not a part of your vocabulary. Your do-over is because you know your oneness, you know you deserve, and there is absolutely nothing wrong. It doesn't matter how old you are, your dreams, your goals, your ideas will be manifested if you believe. And if you get silent, trust me, I know it's tough, find the time every day. And it's a wonderful time to start in January. And I'm sure, how many people have heard 21 days to form a habit? Right? I'm here to tell you that that's great. How many people know on day 25 that habit that we were solid with on 21 days? Oh, I'll just take the day off. And again, we have to think about why. Is it that maybe that wasn't our idea? Maybe your idea looked really cool to me. So I said, I'm going to have what she's having. And the reason I loved it is because of the energy that just came off when you talk about it. When you meditated, I had my eyes open because I just was watching you. And we have that. So what happens is like, I want what she's having, so maybe I need to be what she is. No. Trust in your uniqueness. I know for each and every one of you that 2011 is going to be dynamic and delicious. You know that those are my favorite words, dynamic and delicious. Make it yummy. You are allowed countless, unlimited do-overs. I give permission. If someone says you're not allowed to, have them call me. Have them check in with God. God's smart, very smart, smart. Live your life big, huge. Own your truth. Capital T. Own your truth. And you know what? When the trains do show up, and they will, on a Saturday morning, jump on. Because here's the thing. It doesn't matter where the train is going, the route it's taking, or how it's going to get you to that final destination. What matters is that you have decided to jump on. Namaste. Thank you. Happy New Year.